Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Somewhere around 2007, I was working as a drugstore manager, running the entire front store and a pharmacy. Pay was excellent for someone who was in their early to mid-20s, but the job was also soul-crushing in some stupid ways. A rule came down that cashiers can no longer have drinks at the register. They can drink on their lunch breaks and otherwise shouldn't need water. At the same time, they dialed back the AC, so the store was constantly, comfortably warm but not technically dangerous. I had some of the best staff. One lady was roughly 65 and came to me to let me know she was on medicine that gave her dry mouth, so she needed me to know if I took her water away, she would really have a hard time being able to talk to customers. She almost developed a lisp when she couldn't have her water. I told her no worries, have your water, I will deal with my boss when she sees you someday. Because he was running 40 stores and mine was generally not a problem store, he only came by every 60 days or so. Eventually he does swing in and asks her about her water and she says that I have a medical condition and I told her it was fine. I also told him I had approved the water. He pulls me into his office to let me know that for her to have that water, she needs a doctor's note. If he sees her with it again without a note, we both get written warnings. He explains this is because not following the company rule can be a decision made by me. I am flabbergasted. I'm just a manager in charge of the store. This company literally made me do drills on how to deal with bombs or shootings, but I can't approve a bottle of water? It must be an exception deemed necessary for medical needs. I explain this is stupid. He actually agrees but says he's also following orders from above. Great. I pull my cashier aside and tell her what's up. I said I'm really sorry, but can she please just get her doctor to fax a stupid note over so we can cover our butts? She got a little gleam in her eye and I was excited to see what it meant. Her next shift she rolls in and says, "You are going to love this." She hands me about 100 copies of a letter that says something along the lines of, "I do solemnly state that the cashier is medically a human being and requires water on irregular intervals while working and not solely during breaks. This was a massive waste of my time and your company should be ashamed. I will be recommending your competitor as much as humanly possible to my patients who fill prescriptions in this town for the rest of my natural life. Dr. X." The next 40 were identical letters, each with a different staff member listed, as my genius cashier has snagged an old schedule with first names and last initials. The rest had a blank space for me to fill in new hire names so our staff could all have drinks on the sales floor. My boss wasn't even mad. None of the higher-ups above him ever mentioned it on a store walk, so I assume it was covered in a meeting of people higher up than me. All you need to know about me is that I'm a regular guy who happens to have diabetes. I don't let it slow me down, but sometimes life can surprise us. And man, did I get one when I crossed paths with a mad Karen at the local coffee shop. Grab a cuppa cause you're in for a story. I woke up one morning and I was in the mood for some iced coffee. I strolled into Brew Haven, my favorite spot, and joined the line. I overheard a woman complaining at the counter about her latte being too foamy. Classic Karen material. She had the haircut, the sunglasses indoors, and an aura that just screamed, "I am more important than any of the lowlives around here." I smirked knowing that I'll be getting a kick out of this. Finally, it was my turn. I ordered my usual iced coffee and a slice of blueberry pie. Oh man, that pie was my kryptonite. I couldn't resist it even if I tried. I settled down at a corner table, pie and coffee in hand, ready to enjoy my little break. And that's when Carrie made her grand entrance. Storming over like a hurricane, she scanned the room, her eyes locking onto my slice of pie. I thought she was just eyeing it out of jealousy or checking it out to get one like it. But no, not really, I was in for a surprise. "Excuse me, I ordered this pie, and they gave it to you by mistake. I chuckled, thinking she was just joking. Nah, I ordered this fair and square. You might want to check your receipt, lady. She huffed, tapping her foot impatiently. Listen here, you pudgy bunk. I need that pie to calm my nerves. Hand it over. I raised an eyebrow, astounded by her audacity. Sorry, but this is my pie. If you want one, I suggest you get in line and order it. That set her off. She started ranting about how entitled she was, how she deserved that pie, and how the world was conspiring against her. People around us were exchanging amused glances, and even the barista seemed fed up with her. I decided to end this nonsense. Look, I'm not giving you my pie, but if it's any consolation they still have some, just get in line and order yourself one. And her face turned red. You're just pretending to have diabetes so you can hug all the sweets, aren't you? Huh? What? Are you for real, lady? I am wearing an insulin pump. I'm literally injecting insulin into my body. I have type 1 diabetes. She scoffed, crossing her arms. Prove it then. I rolled my eyes. I'm not going to expose my stomach in the middle of a coffee shop just to satisfy your ridiculous demands. And that's when things took a surreal turn. Karen marched towards me, and before I could react, she snatched my insulin pump and ripped it off my waistband. Panic washed over me. That pump was essential for managing my blood sugar levels. Hey, give that back! I shouted, feeling the anxiety bubble up inside me. Let's see if you're really diabetic. She sneered, holding my pump up with a smirk. I bet this thing is just a prop. I screamed, Lady, you're out of your mind. Give that back before you mess up my insulin levels. But she didn't listen. Instead, she pressed random buttons on the pump, making adjustments that could seriously mess up my blood sugar. I was on the verge of tears, not knowing whether to shake some sense into her or call the police. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. Excuse me, ma'am. Is there a problem here? It was a police officer who happened to be in line for coffee. Karen turned around, still holding my pump, with a victorious smile on her face. This man is faking diabetes, officer. I'm proving it. The officer looked at her, then at me, clearly puzzled. Is that true? I sighed. No, officer, I really do have diabetes, and she just took my insulin pump. The officer's face went from confusion to seriousness. Ma'am, give him back his pump immediately. Karen's smirk faltered, and she hesitated for a moment before reluctantly handing over the pump. And that's when she decided to take her entitled antics up a notch. She glared at me, and without warning, she kicked me in the leg, right where my insulin pump had been attached moments ago. Pain seared through me, and I bit back a cry. The officer's eyes widened, and he wasted no time. Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault. As the officer handcuffed Karen and read her rights, I could hardly believe what had just transpired. All over a slice of pie. She had managed to humiliate herself, get herself arrested, and nearly send me into a diabetic coma. Some of the customers heckled her as the officer escorted her out. The barista brought me a fresh slice of blueberry pie on the house, along with my coffee. Sorry about all of that, sir. Enjoy your pie. I mustered a weak smile and nodded, grateful for the gesture. As I took a bite of the pie, the sweetness felt distant, overshadowed by a growing sense of discomfort. The room seemed to spin slightly, and I leaned against the table for support. Turns out diabetes and stress do not exactly make the best buddies. My buddy was like, hey buddy, thanks for the madness from earlier, but I think I'll take a nap now. After that, I remember bits and pieces. I remember an ambulance pulling up outside the coffee shop like some sort of dramatic finale. Seriously, could this day get any more exciting? Paramedics swarming in, and I was suddenly the center of attention. Again, the paramedics were all business, checking my blood sugar and giving me that we know what we're doing look. Next thing I knew, I was in the back of an ambulance, racing towards the ER. The ER was a blur of white coats, machines that go ping, and the distant smell of antiseptic. Poked, they prodded, and honestly all I could think of was, can I just have some peace and quiet with my slice of pie? Eventually the doctors gave me a stern talking to about stress management as if I was going to put hang out with the entitled Karens on my list of relaxing activities. So there I was, hooked up to IVs like a Christmas tree and feeling like a star of my own medical drama. They did their doctor magic and slowly but surely, my blood sugar decided to play nice again. I was released with a bag of instructions that might as well have been written in hieroglyphics for all the sense they made in my tired brain. A couple of friendly police officers dropped by the next day like they were just swinging by for a casual chat. They asked about the incident like Creep playing the whole Karen versus Pie saga was their idea of good entertainment. I shared my side of the story and they listened with all seriousness of detectives solving a crime thriller. Then came the million-dollar question. Did I want to press charges against Karen? I am not a fan of unnecessary drama, but seriously, the woman had put me on a one-way ticket to Diabetic Coma land. So yeah, I said sure, why not? In my most nonchalant voice. I mean, how often do you get to see karma in action? The officers nodded like they were all business and on a mission to make sure entitled Karens learned their lesson. They assured me that they will handle everything. With a friendly wave they left off to do their police officer thing, and as the door closed behind them, I leaned back in my chair. Pressing charges against Karen might not be as delicious as a slice of blueberry pie, but it's a pretty sweet ending to a crazy story. I, female, 26 at the time, had just started dating Thomas, 28-year-old male, and things seemed promising. Very sweet man, educated and quite smart, good looks too. After 7 weeks of dating, he invited me and two of his childhood friends, let's call them Alex and Bart, for a long 29th birthday celebration weekend at his father's country house in a small French town. His father was going to be around as well and I was very excited to meet everyone. Day 1, Friday, is fun. I am happy to get along well with Thomas's father, a smart and caring man. Day 2, Saturday, after a very nice day, we enjoy a party in a garden with the neighbors, including some friends of Thomas. After a few hours and a lot of drinks, a group of people gather around a small campfire and start sharing childhood memories. This is where things go wrong. At first, of course, innocent and dumb stories as you would expect, but then Thomas and his friends started sharing really sick stuff. In particular, they told a story about how when they were 14 or 15 years old, they found it very amusing to bully, for almost 6 months, Arthur, a boy in their school who was very isolated and shy, making jokes, calling names, you name it. As if this was not enough, they created a fake girl profile on MSN Messenger and spent months exchanging messages with him under the false girl identity, flirting and developing a false relationship with a poor boy. Some people were in a confidence at school and it became a big and cruel joke behind Arthur's back. They used pictures of Bart's real cousin and the boy truly thought he had some kind of online girlfriend to whom he even sent confessions and love messages. At some point they got bored and scheduled a false rendezvous in real life, asking the boy to take a bus for 2 or 3 hours wearing a t-shirt Elmer the Elephant based on a private joke. Obviously there was no one waiting for him and they did not know how long he waited over there by himself. If Arthur had not already understood what was going on, he found out the next day at school after Thomas and Bart told the story to everyone and even shared the love messages that Arthur had been writing. The poor boy stopped coming to class and apparently changed schools, and it's easy to imagine that this must have been extremely traumatizing to him. Do you think that Thomas, Alex and Bart had any bit of shame about it? Not a bit of remorse. In particular, on Thomas and Bart's side, they kept making jokes about it and even seemed to regret that they were not good enough at being evil to conceive the boy to send nudes or sexy pictures. I don't even want to imagine what would have happened if he had done so. To say that I felt uncomfortable would be a gross understatement. I was absolutely horrified and started to despise Thomas more than anything else. I was not the only one shocked. Thomas's father, who heard the end of the story, had the most disappointed look in his eyes. His stupid son was so drunk that he did not even notice it. I escaped the party immediately after that and got back to the house. I could not sleep at all this night, and I kept thinking about the evening and how Thomas was still finding this funny. I heard him come into bed around 4 a.m., but I pretended to be asleep. Day 3, Sunday, was the actual birthday, and the initial plan was that I would take Thomas on a one-on-one fancy surprise date for lunch nearby, and then we would meet the group for a late afternoon party. But instead, I woke up very early on Sunday morning, all my stuff in silence, and went alone to the train station, where I took a direct train heading back to Paris. I decided to send a text to Thomas wishing him happy birthday and telling him to meet me at a certain location 1 hour from the house for a surprise, and that I needed to go a little bit in advance to make sure that everything will be perfect. I had picked a location randomly using Google Maps to gain time. Thomas read the text around 10 a.m. When he woke up, he responded with excitement that he would follow the instructions religiously. When he arrived there at 12:30, I told him to wait further as there was little delay on something. Then I asked him to meet me at a restaurant which was 30-minute drive from the initial location. When he arrived at 1:15 p.m., I texted him that I was on my way and would arrive in 20 minutes, and that he will understand when he sees me why I made him wait. I also asked him to order some food and the most expensive bottle on the menu. Around 1:30, he started calling me several times and sent a lot of worried texts, and after 45 minutes, I responded in French, "So how does it feel to have people play with your feelings?" Then I stopped responding. I let him call and text the entire afternoon but never responded. At some point, an unknown number called me. It was his friend Alex asking what was going on and that Thomas' birthday was completely ruined because of what I did. I just responded, "This is an extremely small payback for what you did to Arthur. Tell Thomas to stop calling me." And I hung up and blocked them both. I still felt bad the entire evening as I had started to grow attached to Thomas back then. The following days, a common friend called me to say that my reaction was completely absurd and unfair, that it was not my role to punish someone for actions they did as a teenager, that there were adult ways of saying things, and that I had been completely crazy. Only a few people supported what I did. Everyone else seemed to think that I was a witch. Thomas tried to fix things and win me back for a few months afterwards. I never responded to any of his messages. I don't regret it. I simply hope that Arthur, who should be 35 now, is doing well at least. Edit. I really did not expect so many reactions and comments. As expected, I see that not everyone approves of what I did, but I'm surprised to receive so many kind messages. Thank you. About Thomas's father, he was actually one of the few people understanding my actions. He called me shortly after the incident to discuss an unrelated topic. I was to give him a list of recommendations about something, and was already aware of everything. He did not badmouth his son, but I could really feel that he was disappointed. He simply told me that he had not found sleep the night of Saturday to Sunday because of what he had heard during the party. He told me that he appreciated meeting me and expressed regret that I was not with his son anymore, but also said that he understood my reasons. He did not try to convince me to get back with Thomas. This man was truly a gentleman. I don't know what became of Arthur. I don't even know his last name. I think that even if I had known his name, I would not have reached out to him by fear of making him remember things that he probably wants to forget. I hope he is a confident man and that he still likes Elmer the elephant.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.